Alright everyone, I want to thank you all so much for watching this video here along US-40 as we drove over Rabbit Ears Pass and eventually ended up in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. So this section of US-40 here in this part of Colorado is very unique in the fact that it actually crosses the Continental Divide twice in the span of about 5 miles. And right here as we ascend Rabbit Ears Pass, you can see Rabbit Ears Peak in the distance, which of course gives Rabbit Ears Pass its name, because it has those basalt rock formations up there on the mountain that basically look like rabbit ears. So I can't think of any other road in the United States that crosses the Continental Divide twice in the span of 3 miles. And then of course I also mentioned in the video that US-40 is the only road in Colorado that actually crosses the Continental Divide more than once. It actually crosses it of course 3 times. The 2 times that you see right here in this video as we crossed Muddy Pass and Rabbit Ears Pass. Then it also crosses the Continental Divide for a 3rd and final time over there by Birdhound Pass, which is just south of Winter Park. So when we started off the video there in Middle Park, we were still part of the greater Colorado River watershed, which eventually flows into the Sea of Cortez or Gulf of California / Pacific Ocean. And then when we crossed over Muddy Pass, we actually entered the Atlantic Ocean watershed of the Divide, which eventually flowed into the North Platte River, which eventually flowed into the Platte River, which eventually flows into the Missouri River, which eventually flows into the Mississippi, and therefore it reaches the Gulf of Mexico after that. You probably noticed that we also changed counties quite a bit there in the beginning. Like we started in the Pacific side of the watershed there in the start of the video. We also started the video in Grand County, and then when we crossed Muddy Pass and crossed the Divide for the first time, we entered Jackson County very briefly. And then once we crossed over Rabbit Ears Pass, and then not too long after that, we re-entered Grand County, and then just a few miles later, we were finally in Routt County. So yeah, this is a very interesting geographic area of Colorado in my opinion, just due to the fact that you actually cross the Continental Divide twice here in the span of 5 miles. It's just really interesting how the watersheds divide here in this part of the Rocky Mountains, and it's just really cool and interesting to cross the Continental Divide twice. So I'll admit, before this trip, I've never really explored much of US Route 40 here in Colorado, especially just west of the Winter Park area and the Rocky Mountain National Park area as well. I always knew about Rabbit Ears Pass and then of course Steamboat Springs because it's one of the most famous ski towns here in North America, but I've just never really had the chance to really drive this area of Colorado too much because it's just really isolated and pretty far away from an interstate, and it's just very open and rural and just not very heavily densely populated, so there's just not really too much of a reason for me to go to this area unless I just go out of my way to go to it. But I'm just really glad I got to do it on this trip here. And then of course my grandpa's never been to this area of Colorado either, so we were both seeing something for the first time together, which was just really special and awesome for the both of us. And Steamboat Springs is really the last major ski resort that I have yet to visit in Colorado before making this trip. There is one more major ski resort that I haven't been to yet besides Steamboat Springs, and that's of course Telluride up there in the San Juan Mountains, which I'm sure I'll get to one of these days. But it was just really nice seeing an area of Colorado that I have not explored before, and I really feel like I'll be back in this area sooner rather than later, because if you keep going west along US-40, you'll eventually end up in Dinosaur National Monument in both Utah and Colorado. And that's been something I've been wanting to check out for a number of years now, so I'm sure I'll be back in this area sooner rather than later just for those reasons mentioned right there. Alright everyone, I just want to give a shout out to all my social media accounts that you see on the screen here because I really am trying to grow my social media accounts beyond just here on YouTube. I would really appreciate it if you guys would check out my Instagram. I'm really trying to grow that social media platform, so I would really appreciate it if you guys would follow me on there. My username is just InterstateKyle. What's really cool about my Instagram is if I'm on a road trip, I will post on my story of where I am and what I'm doing, so it's just a really cool way for you guys to follow along with me in real time to see what I'm doing and what I'm up to. I know my videos on here can get pretty dated very quickly, so if you guys want to see what I'm doing in real time, I highly recommend checking out my Instagram, and I would really appreciate your support over there. You guys can also check out my Facebook group and my Twitter/X account. The links to all those are down in the description. Another thing I want to give a shout out to is my Patreon, which is a way for you guys to support me beyond YouTube here. If you guys want to join my Patreon, you guys can get special perks for joining, like watching all of my videos early before they are released here on YouTube. And all the money I make on there goes right back into this YouTube channel to keep producing more of these types of videos in the future. The link to my Patreon is also down in the description, so if you really want to check it out, I would really appreciate your extra support over there as well. And another thing that is set up on my channel is Super Thanks, which is located to the right of where you would normally like one of my videos. What that basically is just a way for you guys to tip me out for each video going forward if you feel that I've earned it, of course. And then all the money on there also goes right back to this channel to keep producing more of these types of videos in the future. And with all that said, folks, I really hope you all enjoyed watching this video here along US-40 in Colorado as we crossed over Rabbit Ears Pass and the Continental Divide, as well as passing through Steamboat Springs, Colorado. I want to thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you all have an amazing day, and take care, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned to the next adventure, and we will see you next time.